Hi everyone, welcome to How to Develop Perfect Pitch Part 2. In today's episode we're going to discuss why people with perfect pitch have such incredible memories. We're also going to discuss something that I like to call incomplete perfect pitch. In addition to that, I want to talk about the role of music theory in both perfect pitch and relative pitch development. That's today on Everything Music. Have you ever had a melody that is so seared in your brain that you could sing it any time and be exactly in the right key? I like to call this phenomenon incomplete perfect pitch or really developed pitch memory. I'll give you an example. I'm going to think of the third Brandenburg Concerto in G major. I'm going to think of it in my head. Or Star Wars, the main theme. Ba 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 ba. Or Bach's 54th Cantata. I'm going to think of the opening chord. Bum 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 bum. Or I'm going to think of a really advanced chord. A D flat Lydian chord. I'll sing the voicing. D flat, A flat, F, G, B flat, E flat, A flat. Now, I don't have perfect pitch. You would think that I do because of what I was just able to do. I'm using pitch memory, or what some people like to call pitch imagery. I'm not using intervals or relating one thing to the next. I am using pitch memory and visualizing the music in my head. Developing this ability is important because it allows you to instantly recognize things like chord sonorities. For example, if I hear this chord, I know instantly it's a Lydian augmented chord or a major 7 sharp 5. I may not know that it's D flat major 7 sharp 5, but I know that that sound is a Lydian augmented sound. Or, for example, this chord is a 13 flat 9 chord. In actuality, it's a G13 flat 9. Now, I don't necessarily know that instantly, but I recognize that collection of intervals as being a G13 flat 9 sound. In the same way, if I heard this, I'd say, oh, that's an E add 9 over F. Well, I might not be able to tell you that's actually an E add 9, but I recognize that it's an add 9 arpeggio over the tonic a half step above it. Let me back up a little bit. When I was a young child, my parents listened to music. They didn't listen to it all the time. My mom liked a lot of traditional Italian music and listened to a lot of opera, and my dad was a big jazz listener. He really liked bebop music, really advanced high information music. Now, he worked all the time and we didn't really listen to music all that much. Dad would play records on Sundays when he was off. I would always visualize the music in my head and play it like a tape recorder. I like to call it my mind's ear. Now, this is really what people with perfect pitch do. What didn't happen with me is that the note naming was never associated with the sounds that I hear. So when I think of ba and E flat, I hear that note in my head, just like you're imagining a sunset or an apple or something. You can see it. You just think about it and you can see it. You don't have to actually physically see it. Well, this is the same thing. I'm hearing in Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 3, da 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 da. I just am hearing that sound. And I'm not relating it to any other intervals or anything that I've played before. I can do that and still go da 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 and still hear it. Or bum 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 bum. I'm just hearing those sounds, much like Dylan does. Sing C major, Dill.
C, E, G.
Let's talk a little bit more about music and the brain. The disciplined study of a musical instrument, especially the piano, requires the simultaneous processing of musical information in extremely fast sequences. Neuroscientists, using imaging technology, can pinpoint the auditory, visual, and motor cortices involved in this process. The fine motor skills involved in playing piano engage both hemispheres of the brain, drawing upon the linguistic and mathematical abilities of the left hemisphere with the creativity, imagination, and intuition of the right hemisphere. This left-to-right communication increases the volume and speed of activity of the corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres. A more developed corpus callosum is visually evident in those with perfect pitch. This is Albert Einstein, theoretical physicist and musician. In a 2013 study, the Brain Journal of Neurology suggests that the key to Einstein's intelligence was most likely because of the extremely thick connections in three brain regions of the corpus callosum: the prefrontal cortex that controls abstract thinking and decision-making, the parietal lobe that controls sense and motor function, and his visual cortex. So why is it that world-famous concert performers have the greatest memories? Martha Argerich can be seen on YouTube performing more than 10 piano concertos from memory. To imagine what this entails, here is just one page of Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto. This is just one 20-second section of a 42-minute piece. All of this music, every phrase, every rhythm, every finger movement, every dynamic, and every nuance is performed flawlessly by her. Now imagine, the 10 concertos on YouTube range from 28 to 42 minutes long. She knows each of these from memory and can play them flawlessly. She also speaks 6 languages fluently and has perfect pitch. Daniel Barenbaum is one of the few people that has achieved the superhuman feat of memorizing and performing all 32 Beethoven piano sonatas and both books of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. He also speaks 6 languages and has perfect pitch. When children start studying music before the age of 7, they develop bigger vocabularies, a better sense of grammar, and a higher verbal IQ. These advantages benefit both the development of their native language and also the learning of foreign languages. Music training started during this period also boosts the brain's ability to process subtle differences between sounds and assist in the pronunciation of languages. And this gift lasts for life, as it has been found that adults who've had musical training in childhood still retain the ability to learn a foreign language quicker and more efficiently than adults who did not have childhood music training. Let's talk about the functional anatomy of musical processing. There have been numerous studies showing that absolute pitch is associated with unique brain regions that are known to be involved in pitch perception and categorization, along with memory and speech processing. One region that is thought to be directly involved in absolute pitch is the left planum temporale, a region in the temporal lobe that's essential to speech and language. The PT has been shown to be leftward asymmetric in most human brains, but this asymmetry was exaggerated in people with perfect pitch. In a 2001 study, this was confirmed that the asymmetry was predominantly driven by a smaller right PT rather than a larger left one. They also found that this exaggerated leftward PT did not occur in a control group of people that did not possess perfect pitch, but who had also begun music training at an early age. Knowledge of music theory is incredibly important in both perfect pitch and relative pitch development. You have to know what you're hearing. Dylan, what notes are in a C diminished chord?
C, E flat, G flat.
What about D augmented?
D, S sharp, A sharp.
That's correct. This is why you want to have a systematic approach of learning with your children. I like to start with the triads: major, minor, diminished, augmented, sus4, Lydian, Phrygian, and expose the kids to this as their babies so that they begin to develop a language for what they're hearing. Later on, we'll move ahead to seventh chords and on to bitonal chords and polytonal chords. But once they have that basic knowledge of music theory, they're able to identify what they're hearing. That's all for now. Please remember to subscribe here and at my Everything Music Facebook page if you haven't already. Also, please check us out at Patreon at the link provided below. I'm Rick Beato.